Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, the show that is trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist in private practice, and I see probably half of my caseload is ADHD in some form or other. I've seen adults, children, the whole shooting match. This stage of my career, I do more assessments than I do treatment, but I've been through the whole treatment mill as well. I also am the parent of an adult with ADHD. And unfortunately, back in the day when I was parenting a young child with ADHD, we didn't know a whole bunch about ADHD. We didn't have the kind of information that we've got now. And I've said this, I think, every week for the last month or so, but I went through an entire APA, American Psychological Association approved program, graduate program, without ever once hearing a thing about ADHD. I don't know how that's possible. And even when I was trying to get my son evaluated, I couldn't find anybody who knew anything about ADHD. And I had access to people who'd finished postdoctoral training in some pretty fancy pediatric psychology programs, and they were unfamiliar with how to evaluate ADHD or what sort of specialized testing was required or any of that stuff. They just didn't. They hadn't been trained in that too, and they had a pediatric residency. They focused on kids the whole time. But now here we are, and I've been doing well. We're all locked in the house, basically. We have this pandemic going on, and I can tell just looking at the news and the local events that are happening around me that people are starting to get a little edgy. I think we should let the scientists tell us what to do. Have kind of a bias in that, I saw a cute thing the other day. I think it was probably on Facebook, but it said, "The good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it," which I think we should take that with. I think we should accept that. Science is not perfect, but it's the best way we have come to know the truth of things, how stuff actually works, that kind of thing. Instead of, talking about chariots riding across the sky and that sort of fanciful, creative stuff, we have facts. We know a whole bunch about what actually goes on. And sure, sometimes research gets contaminated, but in general, that's still the best way we know to find the truth. And that can be whether your child should be on medication or whether you should be on medication. And if it's some kind of plot by somebody, I don't know who, to get you hooked on something or other. Okay, I don't have a lot of patience with that kind of thinking. There are always people around who are looking for plots and enemies and people who are out to get us and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not naive. In a brief period in my life, I was a missile launch officer in the Air Force, so I know a little bit about how the world works and that sort of thing. But in general, 99% of the people in the world are just trying to go about their business and get home at night. They are not trying to plot, take over and ruin people and all that other stuff. And I find the whole paranoia associated with some of this stuff You've probably seen some of the pictures of these demonstrations of people who are saying that the government's taking away their rights by trying to keep them protected from getting this coronavirus. I mean, what guys run around with M15s, and I was like, what has that got to do with disease control? What has that got to do with infectious disease? You're certainly not going to shoot a virus, so I'm not sure what their point was. But we get a lot of that. We get a lot of, and it's become more popular. I think that's one of the downsides I see of the whole internet thing, is that I think it's cool that people can express themselves, but my God, some of these people, what are they thinking? Where is their proof? Do they have anything that says, that's more than just some idea that popped into their head? Has there been any research done? Or, I don't know. I'm at a loss to explain a lot of this stuff. In general, 99% of the people in the world don't mean us any harm at all, want to get along, want to be polite, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, you got 1% are total jerks, and we should be best off avoid them and try not to let them get too much power. But other than that, okay, now this sort of rambled, but we have been, you can look at this whole pandemic thing in a couple of ways. There's this is awful, this is horrible, I can't stand it. And the other way of looking at it, and I don't mean this in, in an unrealistic way, I guess would be the easiest way to say it. You can also look at it as an opportunity. Like, my wife and I have been studying knowledge-based commerce, which is basically internet stuff, for 4 or 5 years now. But we've been too busy with the private practice to really do anything with it. So now, because we're largely shut down, I'm still seeing a few patients on the internet or on the phone. I think we're calling it telehealth or telepsychology, and it's it's effective. It works. I'm not sure I'd want my whole practice to be like that, but it's a lot of people just need to know that you're thinking about them, or need a word of encouragement and that sort of stuff. But it's effective, and I don't want to put it down at all. So we're using the time we have, my wife and I'm talking about now, use the time we have to actually get started on a couple of projects, knowledge-based kind of things. We've decided that we're going to start off doing membership groups, which is, basically what we do is give people current information and have a meeting online probably once a month for about an hour for a very low fee, probably less than you'd spend on Starbucks for a month. Anyway, so we're going to be starting those pretty soon, and I think the thing I like about that is that the one thing we don't have is we don't have community anymore. We do not have the same kind of community, even that I grew up in. When I was a kid, all the parents knew each other, or they got together, they watched out for the kids, and and we kind of have gotten away from that. But a lot of these membership groups are, it's way people get to talk to each other and feel a sense of community. You share problems and solutions and that kind of thing. So it's not just all me doing the talking. It's you get a chance to interact with each other and so on. So yeah, that's kind of exciting, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it as it goes along. But I wanted to talk about ADHD, particularly ADHD adults and older children, adolescents, and adults, basically. This can be an opportunity. You know, you have more time than you would ordinarily, and you have fewer distractions than you would ordinarily. But you've got to do a little bit of planning. Okay, and you guys know that you need to be a little different than the write it down, do it as you've written it in the list or whatever, because that doesn't work too well for ADHDers. You need to program in a reinforcer, something that's fun to do, or some reward based on having accomplished a given task. And you want to make sure that at least some of your tasks are in areas you're really interested in. Ideally, your whole life is about stuff you're really interested in. And you need to understand that that is especially important for ADHD people, because your attention system doesn't work very well on things you're not interested in. If it's something you're interested in, man, you can go nuts. You can just spend hour after hour doing it. But if it's something you're not interested in, you have trouble staying focused. And if you want to come out of this in the next 6 weeks or however much longer it's going to last, with something accomplished, you need to know how you work, and you need to reinforce that. You need to have time with the things you're really interested in. And basically try to minimize the amount of time you're dealing with stuff you can't stand. Ideally you find somebody else to do that for you, because no matter what it is, there's bound to be people out there who really want to do it and enjoy doing it. I, for instance, know for a fact that accounting just bores the poo out of me. So I have people who do accounting for me. Fortunately, one of them is my wife. For some reason, she's got the Scottish thing with numbers and loves them. But you need to find other options to do the really boring stuff. And this is especially if you're an ADHD entrepreneur. If you're one of those, 70-80% of all entrepreneurs are probably ADHD. And so if you're one of those, then you want to make sure that you don't waste your time setting yourself up to fail, basically, by setting up a lot of things to do that you hate doing. And if you hate doing them, you're probably not going to get around to doing them, or you get around to doing them at the last minute and you screw it up and don't do a very good job of it. That's not going to work for you. So you need to find somebody who can shore up your weak spots, if you will. Somebody who likes doing the stuff you don't like to do. I'm not talking about school now. You have to do the school stuff because you have to have at least basic training in the basic school subjects. But you need, if it's a business kind of thing, you need to set it up so that you have somebody who can do the things you're not very good at doing. So you can concentrate your time on doing the things you're good at doing. That's the ideal. And if you're in business, it's ideal if that person is either a partner or an employee. Okay? All ADHD executives, they're the idea people. they're the ones who, get the big idea and make the decisions real fast how to implement it. But they're not very good at following the routine day by day task of monitoring it or doing the accounting work. So you need somebody who's either is an employee that you're paying or is a partner. I've seen countless numbers of businesses where one partner is the ADHDer, and his or her job is to come up with the ideas and probably do doing the marketing part of things. And they have another partner who is the numbers guy or girl, and he likes or she likes keeping track of what's going on, doing the surveys, doing the accounting, the billing, all that stuff, which frankly bores an ADHDer to death, typically. So you need to know yourself well enough to know that just making more and more resolutions is not going to be very effective. Okay, you can do stuff in the areas you're interested in, but you're not going to be very good at doing stuff in areas you hate or bored by. It's particularly the bored by. Okay, it's what Dodson calls the interest-based attention system. If you're interested in it, you can pay attention like crazy. If you're not interested in it, not much will get you motivated to head on and do what you hate doing. And even if you do force yourself to do it, you're probably not going to do a very good job. And probably somebody else will spend a lot of time correcting your mistakes. Just saying. Okay? Because if you want to come out of this forced social distancing, or whatever we're going to call it, if you want to make some progress in your business, if you want to make progress in just your life goals, you need to know what you want to go after. And the first thing is to know what you want. Second is to figure out how to get there. And third is to have a plan and a schedule. Okay, and the schedule's the thing you got to watch out for. Because people have a tendency to just schedule one task after another on top of each other. Or worse than that, they just have a to-do list. And they think they're just supposed to keep going until they get to the bottom of the list. People don't work that way. Okay, nobody works that way. You need to give yourself break times. Some people, it's like, one pretty effective way to get a lot of work done is have 50-minute intervals where you work for 50 minutes and then you take a 10-minute break and you walk around the block or do some exercises or tap dance, whatever it is you do, to kind of get re-motivated and reinvigorated. And then you just sit down for another 50 minutes. And it doesn't have to be 50 minutes. It could be 45. It doesn't really matter. But just as long as it's regular and you're not beating yourself like a stubborn mule to work continuously all day long. Okay, that's one thing a lot of other cultures other than America have a much better handle on, and that there's got to be some pleasure in life. There's got to be some relaxation. There's got to be some fun. Fun is the reward for having worked. Okay? So make sure you schedule some of that. Because a lot of times, if you're an ADHDer particularly, you'll read some article about how to get the most out of your vacation time or how to, do this, that, or the other. But they're set up for a slightly compulsive person who does not have ADHD. They don't take into account the whole ADHD part of things. They just got a list and a stepwise procedure for following the list. It's like letting obsessive compulsives control your life. You will not do well with that kind of scheduling, with that kind of pressure. You will rebel. I know you will. I know you. So, people who have ADHD are easily bored, have limited frustration tolerance, especially in the area where they're easily bored, and have troubles forcing themselves to do stuff they're really not interested in. Well, there are certainly enough ways to work around that it shouldn't be a huge issue. No? And if you own a business, hey, delegate the heck out of that junk you don't like doing. Okay? And ideally, even if you don't have a business, ideally, well, here's what happens a lot of times. An ADHDer marries a person who's slightly in the compulsive side of things, organized, like things just so, da-da-da-da-da. The ADHDer apparently appreciates that sense of order and that sort of thing, and the slightly compulsive person appreciates the ADHDer's sense of excitement and fun and adventure. And so the OCDer is looking to be stretched a little bit, and the ADHDer recognizes the need for organization. So those kind of work out pretty well. Woe unto you if you have two ADHDers, because then you got a problem, boys and girls. You need to find somebody who's organized, who can do the scut work, the work you don't like, the routine maintenance kind of things. Okay, I have gone on about this as long as I want to, but this is really important stuff. Okay, this is the thing that you need to learn. You know, ADHD is a difference. Okay, it's not so much that it's a disability. It's just that people don't try to compensate for it. And that's what you have to do. If you've got the ADHD, you've got to learn how to compensate for it, how to make it work for you. Okay? There are plenty of lawyers and doctors and scientists and businessmen with ADHD, and but they've learned how to handle it. And that's the trick. You don't do it by taking the kind of following the kind of procedures that neurotypicals who are slightly compulsive naturally kind of follow. You won't do it. You will not do it. But you might have a nice collection of organization guides or something, but you won't actually use them. So figure out how your brain works, how your mind works, and capitalize on that. Learn to compensate for it. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I am Dr. Terry James Gingras. This is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, and we're trying to make the world safe for ADHDers because the world is not changed by convergent thinkers. The world is changed by people who think outside the box. And that's you folks. So we need that. Okay, we'll catch you next week.